Hey folks, this is Kelani. One unique feature of Legion so far is the fact that dungeons have always been kept up to date with relevant item level gear, but more importantly they've been kept up to date when it comes to difficulty. Gone are the days of stomping on dungeons more and more as an expansion goes on. This time the difficulty of dungeons has increased with every major patch to stay more in line with the current raid tier. The most recent changes came with patch 7.2 when everything got a major bump, and patch 7.3 is no different. That means when patch 7.3 goes live, normal, heroic, mythic and mythic plus dungeons will have their difficulty increased, but fear not, for the rewards from all dungeon difficulties will increase as well. So if anyone is still doing normal dungeons, when patch 7.3 rolls around, they will be rewarding 845 gear. Which is pretty huge considering that's around about what mythic dungeons were at the start of the expansion. That's how far we've come. With the difficulty increases, I would expect normal dungeons now to be maybe a little bit easier than what mythic dungeons were at launch, especially if you're playing a fresh 110 character. Heroic loot is being bumped up to 865, which puts it on par with heroic emerald nightmare gear, which is pretty interesting. Dungeons have been kept so relevant that they are pushing old raid tiers way to the side, which is definitely preferable when gearing up. No one wants to have to go through all the old raid tiers before you can get to the new ones. Mythic dungeon loot is going to be a whopping 885. It's going to be so easy to gear up newer characters in patch 7.3 at this rate. 885 from Mythic 0 dungeons and 910 catch-up gear will have you jumping into raids a week after hitting 110. So, Mythic Plus is what most people are probably interested in. How will it scale? What are the rewards? Etc. Seeing as Mythic starts at 885, we know that's where Mythic Plus will start scaling from. The PTR currently has data for a plus 15 key, rewarding a 955 piece of loot in your weekly Mythic chest, but that's not how Mythic Plus worked when 7.2 first came out. Remember, we were restricted once again to a maximum reward of a plus 10 key. There's a few reasons for this. The first is that a patch 7.3 plus 10 key is probably pretty close to a plus 15 key that you can do right now. So it makes sense they should have pretty similar rewards. So a plus 10 key is more or less what we were doing already, and if the item level scales down properly like it did for 7.2, we should still be getting a 930 item in our weekly chest for completing the plus 10 when patch 7.3 goes live. When patch 7.3.5 eventually comes around, with the release of the new raid, we'll be allowed to get up to that plus 15 key once again for the 955 rewards, which is around about what we're expecting the Argus raid mythic gear to be. It's currently on the PTR as 960 item level loot. So far, the Mythic Plus weekly chest rewards in your order hall has always capped out right around the current mythic raid gear, so what we've got so far makes perfect sense. When the Tomb of Sargeras was released, they actually increased the item level of Mythic Tomb gear, so we'll have to see if things stay how they are now, or if they make the same move, but 960 is pretty high already, so maybe they hit the mark straight away this time. We'll have to wait a bit longer to see how things scale up exactly, but I would expect around 910 item level gear from the dungeon chest in a plus 10, with it rewarding that 930 or maybe even a 935 from the weekly chest in 7.3, and then when 7.3.5 comes around we can expect that 955 gear in the weekly chest, and maybe up to 930 coming from the dungeon chests of plus 15 keys and higher. It's pretty crazy. I bet you didn't think at the start of the expansion you would be getting such high item level gear just running a few Mythic Plus dungeons every week. It's been an interesting ride for sure. I don't think dungeons have ever been more relevant this far into an expansion. If you're curious about the new dungeon coming with 7.3, the Seat of the Triumvirate, the loot there will follow all the same item levels as the dungeon changes mentioned earlier. You could say that the new dungeon has the new higher item levels and every other dungeon is being scaled and adjusted to meet the new dungeon's difficulty and loot level. The last new dungeon we got was pretty tightly tuned, so I'm excited to see whether the 7.3 dungeon will be a sought after key or one to avoid entirely. Hopefully we'll be excited to see the new dungeon on our Mythic Plus key, so let's get the balancing right this time please, Mr. Blizzard. But that's all I've got for you in this video, a quick update for anyone curious about how dungeons will be looking and what item level of gear we should expect when all the changes go live with patch 7.3. If you have any questions or queries, please leave them in the comment section below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Or hop on over to Discord. We have a server at discord.gg/Kelani. Great place to come ask questions or just hang out. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.